FPL Gameweek 2 deal sheet is in, looking at 3 players in each position you should buy, monitor and avoid ahead of the deadline, with a special look at the budget defenders, mid-price midfielders and mid-price forwards all under the microscope. Let's get straight into it by looking at the defender to sell, and it's a player in my team, Jarell Quansah, Liverpool, who we knew would start the season as a £4.5 million defender, but the dream was over at half-time when he was subbed for Konate, and for me he's now a sell because we cannot guarantee minutes from him going forward, so there's absolutely no point owning him at this point. Best to free up that Liverpool spot and attack the fixtures with a different option at this price point before he suffers a price drop. Things to note here is that this is more important if you don't have any money in the bank, because you're going to get quickly priced out of a direct move to another player at this price point. At 6% owned, he's not going to drop in price that quickly, but the other options around him, who are the popular replacements, are likely to rise, so it's important to attack the fixtures and get that move made. Now, one defender to monitor at this £4.5 million price point is Manchester United fullback Mazraoui, who comes in at £4.5 million, 5% owned, really impressed in game week 1, keeping a clean sheet and getting 2 bonus points. And Manchester United's defence was generally impressive in that game. They didn't concede any big chances on their goal against Fulham, with just 0.42 expected goals conceded. Now, the only reason he's not an absolute buy is that we don't know what happens when Luke Shaw comes back into the Manchester United lineup. I mean, we don't know how fit he is, but it could be that if Shaw comes back in at left back, then Dalot moves to right back and Mazraoui is out the team altogether. So there is a little bit of risk involved, which is why he's not an absolute buy. Now, Mazraoui is also a great option to pick up if you're playing Fantasy FC Draft on the Sleeper app this season. Remember, he got 2 bonus points in FPL, and that is helped by tackles won and interceptions, in which he amassed 5 in total, which will really help him with his score on Sleeper as well. So if you've got an opportunity to pick him up in a waiver this week, then I would absolutely do it. Now, it's never too late to get involved with the Fantasy FC Draft over on the Sleeper app. Remember, you need to grab 4 to 14 mates in this head-to-head league, and only one person can own each player, so it's a unique way of playing fantasy. They've got FPL scoring on there, they've got their own draft fantasy scoring, it's all fully customizable, so it's a really great app to check out. I've done a mock draft there already, and I'm really pleased with just how slick and intuitive the app is, and I can't wait to draft for real with my mates very soon. That's not all either. Also on the Sleeper app, you can get the latest football news, the live scores in the match centre, and there's the chat integration, so you can chat directly with your mates and with me on there as well. So if you are interested in checking that out, head to the link in this description to download the Sleeper app. On the buy list then, at £4.5 million, it's Fulham's Anthony Robinson, who's 9% owned and looks to be the best fullback in the game at this price point. He got 6 assists last season, 9 clean sheets. We know that Fulham are a decent defence to back in the game, especially because they've got 3 home games in their next 4, including Leicester and Ipswich up next. They are a defence we've relied on in the past, so I think if you are looking for a Quansah replacement, Robinson tops that list, and it's likely to be the move that I make in my own FPL team this week. Into the midfield then, and the 16.4% owned Christopher Nkunku disappointed in game week 1, and at this price point he now looks like a mistake. He produced just 1 shot in the box and 1 key pass against Manchester City, but the biggest concern was that he was subbed off before the 60-minute mark, and we knew that there were a few lingering fitness issues during pre-season. We know that Chelsea's squad depth just keeps getting deeper, and I don't think Nkunku's a viable option going forward in a price point that is absolutely stacked. And we've got to remember the volume of fixtures for Chelsea. They're in Europa Conference League playoff action this midweek and next midweek as well. I simply think that there's better options at this price point. Now, one to monitor is Brighton's Matoma, who's also at this price point, just 2.8% owned. He was one of the star performers from game week 1 in an impressive team performance where they beat Everton 3-0. He his underlying numbers were sensational. He had 4 shots in that game, 3 on target, all came in the box, 2 big chances, an XG of 1.12, and he looks like the best route into this Brighton attack now when you've got Welbeck, João Pedro and potentially Ferguson coming back, completing for places centrally. Minte and Adingra completing on the right wing. I think Mitoma's probably the most nailed. The fixtures don't look the greatest for Brighton over the next 2, with Manchester United at home up next and then Arsenal away, but then the fixtures do get a lot better after that. But it's worth noting 3 home games in the next 4, and I don't think those fixtures are too bad from an attack perspective. Now, all of the data in this video is taken from the Fantasy Football Hub OptaStats tool. We also see Mitoma's on 5 predicted points going into this Game Week 2 fixture against Manchester United at home. If you are interested in checking out all of the things on Fantasy Football Hub to help you become a winning FPL manager, you can get 50% off your membership right now. Win your league or your money back. Those offers have been extended for a limited time only. Link in the description. Now, if you have got some cash in the bank, then Liverpool's Diogo Jota is the one to buy. 13% owned, 7.5 million. He started the season in the number 9 role, and I think he can keep pace with Salah over these opening weeks of the season at that 5 million saving. There's no reason why he should lose his place given his current performance, and Liverpool were one of the standout attacks in Game Week 1 with 19 shots against Ipswich. Jota himself had 3 shots, 2 big chances on goal with an XG of 0.95, got on the score sheet. Quite a number of minutes for him. He's predicted to score 5.6 points in the home game against Brentford in Game Week 2, and he certainly looks like he's worth the upgrade on those midfielders priced at 6.5 million if you've got the funds. Moving into the forward line and on the sell list, it's Brentford's Ivan Toney, who failed to make the squad for the visit of Crystal Palace in Game Week 1. The writing is on the wall for him as a transfer looks unlikely to happen to Saudi. He's in 8.8% of sides. I think he's going to be leaving. You made a mistake if you picked him for Game Week 1, unfortunately, and now is the time for him to go. The fixtures over the next 4 game weeks look terrible anyway. I don't think anyone's going to be looking at Brentford until Game Week 6. It's worth noting if Toney does go, then Brian Mbeumo in midfield could be a fabulous asset. So that's something to keep an eye on. On the monitor list for me, it's Ollie Watkins. He's in 35% of sides, 9 million. He only managed just over 60 minutes in Game Week 1. Now, it was obvious that this was going to happen because he played no part in pre-season. So it was a mistake potentially going with him in Game Week 1. But if you picked him because you think he's going to be a consistent fantasy performer this season, then hold on to him. He's had his game with his limited minutes where he's not been as sharp as you would hope, but that's out of the way now. As Arsenal are home in Game Week 2 is not a bad fixture, and then Villa have got great fixtures from then on: Leicester, Everton, Wolves, Ipswich. So you've not made a poor decision in buying Watkins because those fantasy returns are going to come. Don't lose patience now. Stick with him because I think he could be a good option and one to watch. So I know it's frustrating when you see a player not as sharp as you want them to be, not with as much minutes as you'd hope for them to be, but we know that Watkins has got the pedigree in FPL, the most goal involvements of any player last season. Those returns are coming, so stick with him. Now, if you are looking to buy in the forward market, a player I massively overlooked in pre-season was Arsenal's Kai Havertz. He is in 14% of teams, 8 million. He looks like a great route into a solid Arsenal attack that had 18 shots against Wolves, including 5 big chances. Havertz had 5 shots himself, all in the box, 1 on target, that big chance leading to a goal with an XG of 0.45 from that game. And the most encouraging thing is that Gabriel Jesus only came on for the final 5 minutes of that game, and it was that Jesus' potential that was the concern for me that made me not look at Havertz. However, I thought Havertz would be nailed for minutes in the more difficult games, but maybe Jesus would be first choice in the easier games and Havertz would be deeper. I think what we've seen against Wolves is that, Havertz is nailed, as the number 9 for Arsenal this season once again. And yeah, it's a difficult fixtures coming for Arsenal, particularly in game week 4 and 5, but I feel like Havertz could be fixture proof in this period anyway. So he looks like an absolute buy at the moment. I'm okay in my team because I've got Saka, but if you've not got any Arsenal players, then I'd strongly advise you looking at bringing Havertz in as soon as you can. Now, Havertz is predicted to score 5.2 points against Aston Villa away in game week 2. Remember, you can get all the Opta stats and the hub predictions in this video using the link in the description for 50% off. While you're there, make sure you're downloading the Sleeper app as well and gather your mates to play Fantasy FC Draft this season as well. I hope you're enjoying the Deals to Each series. If you are, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel as well, and I'll be back tomorrow with the experts team for game week 2. Thank you for watching.